Get your digits primed and prepare to enter the newest dimension of game technology. Pit yourself against master champions, and remember, the player on the highest level is always the winner. Mumbo jumbo to some, serious game action to you. Video and arcade is next.
Did you grow up in Canada? Were you alive in the 90s? Did you love YTV? Yeah, you did. What are some of your favorite video games? I mean, you talked about them all the time, so there must be some.
There was a Home Alone game that I really liked.
Me too, actually.
Kind of rare, kind of obscure.
Mm.
I don't know what it was. Something about that game. And I didn't care for the movie that much. I like playing the game. It's going to kill you, but I really like Super Mario Kart. As dumb as it is, it's so... Because everybody knew how to play it. You could throw a control in someone's hand, and even if they'd never played it before, pretty simple to follow along, but everybody kind of knew, and then it was so universal. It was such a universal game. That was kind of one of my favorites. Zelda's whole empire was...
I got a Triforce tattoo and a pumpkin here. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, well, me and my best friends all have pumpkins, so I got the Triforce and the Master Sword carved into my arm. Well, not like a teenage goth way, but, you know, it's fancy.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I don't have a better answer because I've been asked that question a lot. But every week we kind of got to play with new games, or they wouldn't have a new game out, so you go back to some classics. So we got a variety of stuff to play with, and I kind of just liked whatever was new, and we'd learn them and then forget them the next week because something else new came along. So it was hard to grab on any particular game.
Now, Liza, I'm a DJ at heart, and this game has 19 different music tracks you can fight to. Of course, I do it in stereo. It really gets you into the game.
You're cool.
Eric M. Clipliff says, do you have a specific memory of a child video game prodigy? Were there any tough kids to deal with?
No, some kids would come on and completely, I'm like, wow, you play a lot. Because they'd be on level 7, and the first kids are still like trying to figure out how to get through the first room or something like that. That was a tough one to play at some time because you're like, clearly this kid's just going to dominate. And there were a few prodigies. I couldn't remember a name. I can tell you that some of them came in and were just whiz kids, and some of them I don't think had literally ever picked up a controller in their life. So I would gently ask, hey, buddy, do you play? No. Why are you here? My brother's playing. So I thought I'd come along too. And I'm down with that. I get it. It's family. You're going to follow along. So I'd be gentle to those kids. You never wanted to point out a kid that wasn't moving along. But at times, we would have to have one of our production assistants, and that would be James or Brian, would duck, like on their knees, duck up to the kid, take the controller, and at least move them along in the game, like help them out. Okay. So sometimes the kid and there'd be an extra set of hands in the shot. And it's just kind of funny. I'm like, oh, that's James. He's helping the kid. Okay, that's good. Let's move along, just to get the kid moved, so that they're not, they're not stuck on the same page for the entire show.
I noticed that all the hosts talk to the kids right after that they stop playing, like at the end of the show. As credits roll, you're all talking to the kids. Was it generic, like, "Hey, how's school?"
It was always the game they were playing. How far did you get? I don't know. One complaint we had towards the end was that we, given the nature of YTV and respect to, humans, we didn't let them get knives and daggers and axes and stuff when that was an option as a weapon with whatever game you're playing. We don't want to see any of the characters get stabbed on the game. So we would tell them, don't use these weapons. And they would get a little, upset about that because that's how you do well in the game or whatever. Mm-hmm. If it was a Street Fighter game, you couldn't stab the person or whatever it was. You could, you had to hold back. And we had a few, I don't know if we had Grand Theft, but we had a few games on there where it's like, wow, this isn't for kids at all. Not even kind of. And so we'd have to rework the game to make it, kid friendly, because we were a kids show on a kids network. And it became very difficult toward the end. There was a wave of almost every game came out, and it was geared towards a rambunctious older teenager who wanted to just be rough, and that didn't go well.
No,
for us.
Just picturing in GoldenEye, you're like, you can only use slaps, just 20 minutes of slaps. Yeah. Ryan Ryder Brownstein is asking, what's the funniest thing that ever happened while filming?
A lot of times, wow, we'd be off, like they weren't shooting us, so I'd be talking to, we'll say Krista. I'd be co-hosting with Krista, and we would have conversations that had nothing at all to do with the show. Just, what'd you do last night? I don't know, what'd you do? And stories would come out. And then we'd be like, oh my God, did that go on the show? Like, I'd have to go back and check with the audio guy. And he would always be like, no, but I heard what you were saying. You know, keep it clean. Things like that would come up. There were a few there were a few situations. I always loved that the kids, because we shot all year long. We would tape every 6 weeks, summer, winter. Kids would come on wearing like snow boots, like moon boots on the show. And I would laugh a lot. I'm like, you're in a studio. What are you wearing your moon boots for, dude? You get salt all over the beautiful set. Stuff like that was funny. We had stuff fall now and then. We had literally part of the set collapse, and we didn't cut because I didn't hear it. I saw it, but if it wasn't in the shot and I didn't hear it, it didn't happen. Keep taping. Don't cut. You only cut when the director yells cut. That was the pressure. So I learned, and to this day, so I'm really good at, there could be a lot going on around me. I focus on what we're doing here. I do live radio every day. I do morning show radio in Buffalo, and we have a lot going on around us. I can usually just focus on whatever's, being said at that time. So I learned that on Video and Arcade Top 10 of just having technical disasters mostly were the funny things that would happen. Few kids made us chuckle because kids are kids. They will say and do things that are inappropriate. Some of the kids, the older kids, would like stare at one of those beautiful girls doing the show, like stare.
He's right on target. We preview some of the hottest games around here on VNA. You'll learn how to play them.
Watch as our heroes' spidey senses tingle when trouble lurks in the form of the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and Kingpin.
Well, that's it for me for now. Let's check back over with Nick and Leah for some more game action.
And of course, I couldn't let the girl not know that kid is like got his eyes locked on her up and down, and they would just be like, wow, because the girls were beautiful. And for a teenage kid to be on that show and see this goddess walk, a foot from him, couldn't stop the eyes from roaming, man. You'd have to tell the kids, hey, buddy, watch the screen. So stuff like that.
Yeah, eyes on Mario. Okay, Amanda Caliber's asking, if you had to choose which prizes would go up on the bonus wall today, what items would be there for kids to win?
Oh, my God. Medieval Times is still around, so I'm going to go with Medieval Times. KFC is still a thing. For a few seasons, we give away buckets of KFC, and I got to tell you, there's nothing like the immediate passion and joy on a kid's face being told he's getting a bucket of something his mom will probably get him.
Hey, our runner-up will be fancy putting away with a double pack of CDs from Quality Music.
Today, I would give away, dude, an iPhone, a Samsung, some kind of device, some kind of something or other. Do they still make the Indiglo? Does Timex make the Indiglo? We gave away a ton of those watches. I don't know what we give away now, but I bet it would be game-related and technology-related, because that's really what the kids were after. Some of them won books, man, and I'm a big proponent of reading. No kid ever was thrilled about the book, I got to tell you.
One of the show's good friends, Rocky Buckland, who's always giving me great questions, he's asking, what kind of crazy sponsorship requirements were there for you and other hosts to follow?
Rocky, great question. None really, other than for a while we were sponsored by...
All of the clothes worn by the hosts of Video and Arcade Top 10 have been provided by Backstage Pass, with boutiques located at select base stores across the country.
So we were sponsored by a clothing company for a while. That was a sponsorship requirement. Our show was heavily sponsored by Nintendo, but not exclusively. For a while, we were playing, I think we played Sega and some other systems for a while. But Nintendo had a big part in the show.
Oh, yes, it does. We want to throw you a very cool party. It's a Nintendo van back-to-school party hosted by Mario, and all you have to do is send us your name and address and age and phone number on a postcard. Send it to us. If you win, we will send this Nintendo van to your house, so you and 9 of your best friends can play the best games on the world's hottest system, or should I say systems. There are 10 N64 systems inside this hip and happening van, complete with all your favorite games. And because we love you so much, we're going to throw in some pizza, pop, and chips for you and the guys to munch on.
Nintendo never had a conversation with us about do this, do that, only do this, only do that. It really wasn't. It was a lot of common sense, and I'll throw back to the producer of the show, Robert, would just basically tell you, he was like old guy. He'd be like, kid, keep your nose clean and show up on Sunday. These kind of old showbiz isms that he had, which to this day ring true. His thing about just show up, that's a real thing, man. Just show up.
Guys, winning a prize from the top 10 bonus ball is so easy today. All you have to do is stick your hand into the prize can. The number in the can is matched to a number on the wall. Now, Justin, you get this red bonus ball. Anything you want on the wall is yours. Put the blindfold on. The red bonus ball is in the prize can. Go for it, buddy. Pick the winner.
Did anyone ever prank you by putting weird stuff in the prize bucket?
Yep.
Okay.
I can tell you what it is.
All right.
I can tell you, Jonathan, the original producer of the show, absolutely put something in there that should not have been there ever. And I will tell you, give the kids the opportunity to cheat with the blindfold, and they'd reach down to the thing, and I could see them, and I didn't care, not my prizes, but I'd be like, oh, dude, you cheated. And they would look around for the red bonus ball, and you could just kind of see where it was. If you caught a glimpse of it, you'd grab it, they'd pull it out. And for every kid that cheated, I never called them on it. God bless you. If we didn't do our job hiding the red bonus ball, you deserve the prize.
Chris Tang was saying it would be really nice to see a new generation of YTV would re-air video and arcade top 10 episodes. Like, seriously, we need these episodes from the 90s up until the 2006. Like, has anyone ever asked you, like, is this stuff ever going to be rebroadcast or be in a position where they could watch all the episodes?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Number one question I get on social is, I was on episode whatever. Can I get a copy? I would love to give you a copy. I don't have them. They were physical tapes that at some point ended up somewhere, and I don't know where they are. What I do know is that at some point there's a network that was or is called Game TV in Toronto, and they started airing these things, old tapes from, 02, 03, and I didn't get a email on that one. I just started getting, all of a sudden, Twitter would blow up with people asking me codes for a game. And I'm like, what is going on? I was stunned. And so I don't know how long they re-aired episodes of it. Right now, I don't think it's being shown anywhere, but, a bunch turned up on YouTube and whatnot. The idea of re-airing those, I think, is fun. I just don't know. I don't know where the tapes are, so I wouldn't even know where to grab them. But that's one thing I can tell you, is that the tapes are still around, and somebody has obviously loaded them digitally somewhere. Because if that network was playing them, they're out there. So somebody has them. Please re-air them. I'm so embarrassed because they told us it'll never air. You'll air that one week and it'll never air again. So,
yeah.
The other thing is, there's been talk about doing kind of a new version or a reboot or a similar style show that we have pursued recently, and that's still on the table. And so, I can tell you that there's a couple people that were key players in the original that are hopefully making this happen. The guy that originally put the show together, Robert, passed away a few years ago, and Robert was very good to me. Robert was a character, man. He was showbiz. He was the man. And he was a good guy. I wish he was still around to put the show back on.
Okay, so I know you got to go, so I got two more questions for you. I noticed that all the co-hosts would go by the wayside from season to season. Maybe they'd last a little while, but eventually, why are you the only one that went the distance?
I don't know. I went from the first season to the last episode, and I just found our final script, and it was script 780 or 760 something. It was a lot of shows. I can't tell you. I don't know. I'm me. I don't know what I do that's different or whatever than the other hosts, because when I started on the show, Gord was the guy, and he was great. And he was there for the first, and I don't know how many seasons. I don't live in the past a lot, so I don't know the numbers. What I do know is that I was there from the first season, not the first episode, the first season right through to the end. Everything in between kind of seemed like a blur. It went by very quickly, but it was 15 years, and it was, I think, the longest. I've been told it's the longest running kids game show in Canada, if that's a statistic that anybody pays attention to. But someone at Ryerson told me that, and I felt good about that. I was part of it. As to why, I don't know. It just, it either works or it doesn't, and it seemed to work. So having a ridiculous name that people can remember is very helpful, and we had fun. I don't know. I don't have a valid answer for that, other than I had a great time.
All right, and we'll leave off on the legacy of the show and the fanfare that people still have only in their memories, considering they only can really see it in little spurts. But if you had a message to say to my good friend Nadia, who was very excited you were going to be on the show, and I paraphrased her question, so I don't want to not mention her. But if you could say anything to the fans after all these years that still hold you near and dear to their heart, what would it be?
Wow. I think people watch the show because they love playing the games and it was something they could relate to. Don't be afraid to, Nadia, don't be afraid to really embrace something that's important to you. And video games get a lot of bad rap, especially at that time. I know people whose parents wouldn't let them watch the show at their house because it was rotting their brain, right? And so they would have to sneak away to grandparents' house or a friend's house just to watch video and arcade top 10. Embrace what you do. Embrace what you love. If you love video games, at that time, that was the thing. I don't know what it is now, but if it makes you happy, if it is not dangerous and it's good for you, embrace it, do it, love it, be comfortable with what you want to do and what you're interested in. And you can apply that to anything. With My Ridiculous World, it happened to be video games. And you're right, it's kind of blown up. It's kind of become a big thing. And I'll go around, so I'll watch shows now that kind of review stuff. And I'm like, that's not how it's done. Let me show you. So I hope that we can kind of rebuild a version of the show. And again, I say that just because now I got little kids that want to know what the hell that thing was. You know, my kid will go on. I never go on. I don't ever search myself on Google or YouTube. My kids do.
I do. Well, you at least. I needed to research.
That's not much. My daughter doesn't, so she'll remind me, and she's very happy that her dad got to do this show. I would love to be able to do that again, and kind of. I wish I could meet the fans now that grew up on it and bring them into the mix as well. So if I were to do another show, Nadia, back to you. I would like to somehow recreate that energy that you liked back then into something now and make it relevant and make it work and let people not only reminisce in the past, but also live now, live today, live in the future. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could come up with the perfect formula of the show to kind of redo. Because, sometimes like listening to a song that you love or talking to a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time, sitting down in front of an old system, picking up that old controller, nothing feels better, man. Nothing feels better.
It's funny you say that. Just an arm's throw away. I have classic and golden right here. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, but it's not that I hold on to nostalgia. It's just that, unlike PlayStation, these systems still work. Nintendo made really good products. These have been dropped. These have been borrowed, almost stolen. They still work. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Nicholas. This means a lot. It means a lot for the project because you were a staple of that time on YTV. And when picturing the 90s and that cycle of shows, you and the gang on Video and Arcade Top 10 are definitely up there on the Mount Rushmore of what made YTV amazing in the 90s. And thank you so much for giving us your time. We all appreciate it.
Check out more episodes of You, Me, and YTV on Facebook and YouTube. Sweet one-of-a-kind interviews with PJ Fresh Phil, PJ Paul, Tarzan Dan, the cast of Student Bodies, the voice acting cast of Sailor Moon, and much, much more. Exclusively on You, Me, and YTV. Season 2.